Welcome back, art students. In today's lesson, we will create a rainbow trout. Ready to begin? In this lesson, you will need black Sharpie marker, oil pastels, or crayons if you don't have oil pastels. I will say that the oil pastels work better for blending. Today we'll be using light brown, dark green, light green, another shade of green, light blue, pink, red, yellow, peach, orange, gray, and black for our rocks. A very small tip paintbrush, black tempura paint or acrylic paint. And for our background, we'll be using watercolor paints, a large brush, water for rinsing your brush. And for our paper today, we are going to be using recycled grocery bag paper. So finding a grocery bag, and then you just cut out the sides and we'll recycle that paper. Okay, let's get started. We are going to start with our black Sharpie marker. And my bag actually has a really nice center line here. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm going to be making the top of my fish first. I'm going to start on one side. I'm going to make a rounded line up and over and down. I'm not going to go all the way to the edge of my paper because I need to leave space for the back fin, okay? So I'm going to make a line up, curved line up, and back down. Okay. This marker's dry, I'll get another one. Okay, now we're going to make just a little curve in. Just a little curve in. Down a little. And a straight line out. Now we're going to make the bottom part of our fish. It also has a rounded underbelly and then back up. Now we're not going to connect these lines because the fin will come out here. So touching, this is its lip here, the opening of its mouth. I'm going to go down. Back close to the other line and stop. I don't want to close that line. I'm going to add the fin in the back. Okay, let's do that now. So touching the end of the top line, make a slanted line up and out. And now for the bottom, slanted line down and out. And kind of they're about the same size, right in the middle of those two lines. I'm going to make a little dot. I'm going to make these lines come in, kind of touch the line and come back out. Okay, we have a lot of fins here. Rainbow trouts have a lot of different fins that work for the fish. We're going to make the top fin now. This is its dorsal fin. Top fin. So let's actually make the eye first. We have its mouth here, and we're going to make a large round circle. And now a smaller round circle on the inside. We can go ahead and shade that in black. Okay, and now we're going to make little gill covers here. So I'm underneath its eye, just to the side. I'm going to touch the bottom line and I'm going to make a rounded line up, kind of high on the fish. 1. Space out this line. Another line in. 2. This one's shorter. And then a third line. 3. 3 lines. I have 1, 2, 3, and they go from biggest to smallest. Okay, now let's go ahead and make that top dorsal fin. We're going to make a straight line, slanted line up, and then make kind of some wavy lines back down to the body. Now, there's a fin back here. This fin is going to be right in between the dorsal fin and that back fin here, and it will be a straight line out, kind of slanted, and then that wavy line back in. Okay, now some of those bottom fins down here, right underneath its gills, we're going to make a straight line down. Then some of those wavy lines back into the body. There's another one right behind it, a little bit of space. Again, a slanted line down, and then wavy lines in. This back one here, slanted line down, and wavy lines in. They are biggest to smallest here, aren't they? Okay, I think we are ready to cap up our markers for now, and we are going to use our oil pastels. I'm going to start today using my brown, and we're working with our oil pastels. They're very oily, and so they blend really well. If you're working with crayons, you'll have to work a little harder to press down to make them blend. And you might need to spend a little more time coloring in, where oil pastels, you can color kind of fast. Okay, so if I'm going too fast, you may pause the video to catch up. Okay, so starting with our light brown, I'm going to trace around the outside of my rainbow trout, all the way around. We're going to do this a couple different times. Oops, they're soft, so they do break easily. I'm going to trace all the way around. Okay, now let's trace our gill covers. 1, 2, 3. And that rounded big eye. Okay, let's put our brown away for a moment. And now if you have a dark green, this is sort of it's kind of almost like a turquoise looking green. And I'm going to, you see here with our rainbow fish, it really does look like a rainbow. There are really beautiful colors in a rainbow fish. When you hold it against the light, it really does sort of shimmer, and it has an iridescent look to it. And you'll see lots of these different beautiful colors inside of a rainbow fish. And we're with this, and it's sort of layered. You can see I have green, light green, blue, pink, light blue, and green. So we're going to use some of those colors a couple different times. With my dark, kind of turquoisey looking green blue, I'm going to trace the top of my fish. And I can go right over that brown, because we're going to be doing some mixing. I'm just making a wide blue strip of color here. Okay, and now I'm going to be using my light green, and right under that dark green I'm going to press down some light green. I'm going to go right up to that color, the darker green color. Don't want to leave any space between these colors. I'm just going to trace the top like this. Now with that dark, or this light green, we're going to blend those colors a little bit. So I'm going to take my light green and I'm going to go right over that. Do you see the difference here? These are blended. It looks really nice when they're blended together, and it kind of covers up any of the empty spaces. I'm going right over that dark green. You can still see the separation of colors, and that looks really nice. Okay, very nice. Now with that same bright green, we're going to trace the bottom part of the fish with this light green. We're going to start right behind the dorsal, or this, the gill. And I'm going to make a nice wide light green under. And I'm going all the way to the tail. I'm not going in the tail. I'm stopping there. Okay. Next, we're going to use our light blue. And we're going to trace right underneath the light green. Pressing down hard, getting my colors right up against each other. I'm making blue right underneath. And again, on top of the green. Okay, let's use our light green one more time to blend this green to this light blue. It's a nice little transition. I'm just taking my green and I'm kind of going right over just the top of that blue. And then again down here with our light green, just going to blend the blue and the green together. When you do that, you get another little color, which looks really nice. Okay, now for my favorite part, the pink part. It's really very pretty on the side. Okay, we're going to take our red, and we're going to make a straight lateral line right through our fish, our rainbow trout. So a straight red line right through the middle. Okay, and now your pink. We're going to take this pink and we're going to fill in the space between the two blue lines, and we're going to go right over that red line. Make sure your pink goes right up to the blue. You can see some of those colors mixing nicely. I'm pressing nice and hard. Okay, let's go into the face a little bit. We've got the eye here, right by its mouth. Let's put a little pink. We'll go right into the eye and shade in the top part pink. Okay, it's nice and pink. And now let's find our light green, and we will shade in the bottom mouth with green. Okay. All right, I didn't press as hard for my mouth. Okay, so we have the body pretty nicely filled in. And now we're going to get our dark green. We're going to work on our fins now. The top two fins and the back fin. Okay, with your dark, kind of turquoisey dark green, I'm going to just make some up and down marks on the bottom of the fin, like that. Kind of sloppy. just up and down on the fin, on the top, the two top fin. Okay, and then now with the back fin, we can go ahead and make that straight line across. And then we're going to make those kind of scratchy lines, short scratchy lines at the bottom. They're starting with this line by the body, and they're kind of going out, but they're short. Okay, now your yellow. And you're going to shade in, oh, I need to trim this paper. Okay, so with your yellow, you're going to start, and my yellow is kind of a mustardy looking yellow. I'm just going to shade in the top, yellow, right to that blue, and I might go right into that blue a little bit. Okay, do your fins, top fins, right into that blue a little bit. Not completely covering everything, but it does look nice when they blend. And then again with your back fin, shading that in, starting with the outside edges, and then we'll work our way in, and you can go right into that blue. Do you see how when the yellow and the blue mix together, we get a pretty green? And there are some beautiful green colors inside of our rainbow trout. Okay, now we're going to get our brown. We're going to make a few little lines inside of our fins. So the fins are moving through the water, and we're going to make these lines touching the body, and we're going to make small little lines that are slanted right inside our fin. And again, for each of these fins, starting at the body, slanted lines out. And for our back fin, let's start at the body and go all the way to the tip. Come back in and make lines all the way across, from the top to the bottom. Okay, next we are going to do the bottom fins. And for these fins, when I looked at rainbow trout's colors in books, they were almost kind of a salmon looking color. So I chose a light peach, and then I'm going to add some orange and pink on top. If you don't have a peach, go ahead and just do pink. So if you have a light pink, shade that in first. We're going to do these three fins. Okay, and now an orange, and I'm going to start at the body. I'm just going to make those lines kind of coming out from the body into the fin. Just a few lines of detail, maybe make 3 lines in each. Now I'm going to take my pink, and I'm going to go right over some of that orange and that pink, just like this. Add a little pink in there, blending those colors together. Okay, very good. The last color we're going to use on our fish is black. And we're going to just trace the lower part of our fish. This is at the bottom of the river. So it's a little darker maybe here. Rainbow trout love swimming in shallow, fresh water. So starting maybe with the lip with a black oil pastel, we're going to trace just the bottom of our rainbow trout. Okay, and you can take your black Sharpie and make a darker black eyeball. Okay, I might give my fins a little bit of black in there. Maybe just trace those lines halfway up. Okay, now you might notice that we're missing all those beautiful black spots that really identify the rainbow fish, and we're going to go back and do that at the very end. Okay, so we are finished with our oil pastels for now. Our hands are kind of dirty, but that's right. We can wash our hands at the very end. So we're finished with our fish, but now we're going to make some river rocks underneath our fish. Okay, so using that black again, we're going to make some rounded rocks. This rock is going to start from the bottom of the page. It's going to come up and back down. Now rocks are shaped in all different sizes and round shapes. So this one's going to just kind of come around. Maybe this one will be up here, a nice rounded one. Making big river rocks right underneath my rainbow trout. Maybe one kind of coming off here. So when you have filled the bottom of your page here with big rocks, or maybe you've chosen to do tinier rocks, we'll go back and we will shade these in. So maybe adding a little bit of black. And then maybe we'll add a little brown in those rocks. Making them look like they are just at the bottom of the river. I have been playing quite a bit in the river to keep cool this summer, and I'm seeing a lot of beautiful fish swimming very close to the rocks. I think they like going down there to eat all the small little fish, and sometimes they pop up to the top to eat an insect. So I've gone around and I've traced all of my rocks in black, and now I'm going to add a little bit of brown on the inside, and I can go right over that black too. I've also chosen to use a gray color. I have a lot of really pretty gray river rocks too, so I might add a little bit of gray in some of my rocks. Just in open space, open parts that maybe I haven't colored in yet. A little bit of gray, pressing down hard. I'm wondering if you've had a chance to go fishing this year. I hope you get to go. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right, so we have our rocks at the bottom of our riverbed, and our rainbow trout looks great. Now we're going to use our watercolor paints to shade in behind our fish. Now, I'm going to give you the option, if you want to make this look like a fishing painting, you might use your black Sharpie marker to make a straight line down and a little hook. The little hook of a fisherman who's waiting to catch a rainbow trout for his dinner or her dinner. Okay, so if you want to make a fisherman hook, you're going to make a straight line down maybe really close to the rainbow trout, and then small hook up. Okay. Or you can leave that out if you want the fish just to be swimming in the river. Okay, we are ready to shade in around our fish with watercolor paint. We're going to try not to go into our fish because we're going to be using acrylic paint, and if we have our fish really wet with watercolor paint, our black paint might get kind of runny. So we're going to do our best not to get our fish wet. Okay, so I'm going to be using blue. And I'm going to start at the bottom, and I'm going to go right over my rocks and around my fish. Okay, so getting your paintbrush wet, finding your blue. I'm using a big brush. I have a big piece of paper here to fill in, so instead of using my small little brush that comes with this palette, I chose a big brush. Okay, so now I'm going to just take this blue and I'm going to go right over my rocks. Go ahead and shade in your whole painting without going into the blue. Or I'm sorry, not without going into your fish. Whenever your paintbrush gets a little bit dry, it's kind of hard to see the blue in this painting. You'll just cover it all, and then when we're finished, really when the paper is wet, we'll go back over our wet paper and add some more blue. You'll see that I've done that here. There's a light blue, and then I went over with some more blue, and you'll see some nice blue come through there. When you're working with watercolor paints, remember you kind of have to work fast because they dry pretty quickly. And we're going to go back over parts of this while the paint is wet. So kind of work quickly on the watercolor. Get right up near that fish. Okay, my paper is pretty wet all around. You can see it's wet all around. Now we're going to go back, and with our paintbrush, we're going to just make some blue lines right into that wet paper. And when it dries, you'll see it a little bit better. It's kind of hard to see now. Really want to get all that paint on all right up to the edge. Just some nice wavy water lines. some on the bottom. See, you can see it's dried here a little bit here. Just adding some nice blue in there. If you wanted it to be more blue, you can wait for it to dry a little bit, and then you could add more blue on top, as much as you like. Okay, so I think that's going to dry really nice. And now we're ready, I think, for the part that is most fun. We're going to do our little tiny black dots all over our rainbow fish. So with your paint, your black acrylic paint or your tempura paint and your tiny little paintbrush, you're going to work very slowly to make really tiny little dots on your fish. And we're going to do these together, okay? Because I want you to notice that there's a lot at the top, and they sort of go from a lot to just kind of spread out. And there's some on the fin. So with your paintbrush and your tiny little paintbrush and your black paint, we're going to make little black spaced out dots. I'm being really careful not to smear my paintbrush. I'm just trying to make little tiny black, basically stamping my brush down. I'm not dipping my paintbrush every single time I need black. I've got quite a bit on my brush to go right along the top, all the way to the back fin. Okay, once you've gone all the way across the top, we're going to put a few tiny little closer ones together right along the bottom of this top dorsal fin here. I'm working very slow. Okay, and now I might take my little tiny dots and I might make just a few lines up. Straight little dots up. Okay, now going back to the back fin here, tiny little itty bitty dots close together on the bottom of this fin. And now a few little black lines up. Okay. Now we're going to make these dots come in a little bit. Now we're going to be spreading these dots out a little bit more. They're not as close. I'm stamping the light green. Okay. Now a little bit of the stamping of the blue. Okay, now we're going to take our black and we're going to go right under this lateral line here. So this dark red line that's kind of pink looking now, we're going to put little black dots right under that line. All the way to the end. Okay, now we're going to go right along the bottom of our rainbow trout, and we're going to start maybe a little bit in the gills, a couple small little dots between those gills, and then we'll make our black dots right along the bottom of our rainbow trout, and we're going to make those a little bit smaller and closer together, and then we'll spread them out a little bit. So following that bottom line, making lots of little black dots. think this is probably my favorite part. I think the trout really comes to life when you add these little black dots. Okay, so we have the bottom of our fish, and now we're going to bring those dots in a little bit more into the blue and the green. All the way from the gills to the tail. Okay, so with the tail, we're going to make those tiny little black dots right at the end of the body and the beginning of the fishtail here. Okay, those are nice and close together. And you remember how we did these sort of dot lines up? We're going to do that here. We'll do maybe 3 or 4. Not all the way up. Okay, and now we're going to do a few on our bottom fins here. So we're going to kind of come in a little bit on that nice, pretty salmon looking color. One line across and maybe just a couple dotted lines down. They're kind of slanted. This makes this look like our trout is sort of swimming in the water and its fins are kind of pushing behind him. I'm doing that on all of the bottom. Okay. That looks really very nice. And as your fish dries, you'll see some of the blue come through. So after it totally dries and you want maybe a little bit more blue in the water, you can go back and add some more blue on top. But I think that looks really nice. You could frame this in your home. And there you have a beautiful rainbow trout. Thanks for painting with me today. See you next time. Bye.